ladies and gentlemen, we should be live on Facebook. I'm just always love. There it is, live on Facebook, 3D Politics every Monday night. And the exciting news for me is David Van. David Van back in the saddle again. And he's got breaking news at the bottom of the hour. If you saw my promo, you know it's exciting. It's the state of Oklahoma. It's big news. It's the scoop. And David Van is going to be telling us all about it at 7:30. But right now, without further ado, let's bring in Dr. Willie J. Montague from Florida.
The doc is in the house.
The doc is in the house. Let's make sure we can hear him. Willie Montague, are you there? Do I hear you yet?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. It's working. I appreciate you working with us here an hour off schedule. I forgot to remind you, we always go 7 Central Time, and we have an hour before that with pre-show, and that shows up in the invite. So I apologize for bringing you on an hour early and then having to send you away. David Van, do you remember Dr. Willie J. Montague from Florida?
I do. Facebook fame, Dr. Willie.
Hello.
Howdy,
well,
howdy.
Anything you want to tell us before we get started? But I know I got to ask you, the big news is the giant alligator that everybody saw. Everybody's just dying to know about the alligator. So, if you don't know, Willie J. Montague out there in Florida running for a House seat and is still going strong. A number of other charities and donations that he gives out to help the youth there in the Orlando area. But the story out of the Independent, just for the fun of it, Harriet Alexander, Florida residents are more accustomed than most to seeing alligators and crocodiles. Huge Florida alligator, said Matt Devitt, a meteorologist with WINK News, and he says the monster is real. Is this a thing that's normal out there?
Actually, I've never seen an alligator, but it is something normal that you hear about the alligator sightings, especially when those are there. So when I saw that video and they actually zoomed in, I was like, the caption was like a dinosaur, and I was like, that thing was huge.
Yeah.
So yeah, we do have that around between them, iguanas, lizards, and other creatures that fall throughout the day.
Van, what do you got?
I wanted to say, Willie, speaking of things that might be real, some of our viewers may know that you had a campaign manager. It came from our staff here, David D'Ambroso.
That's right.
And I guarantee you some of what he's told you about Oklahoma is real.
Well, we're big, giant alligators out there. But it does say an estimated 1.3 million alligators live in Florida. Yeah. And yet it seems to be very low danger to humans out there. So I guess we're all staying away from the alligators. It's the way I do it. So now moving on, anything you want to add about the dinosaur stuff out there? So what have you been doing recently, Willie?
Well, it's been quite interesting. In fact, right after the general election, we of course made an unofficial announcement about the congressional seat, but since then as well, we have been having meetings after meetings, finding out how we can better serve the community of Orange County. So it's been really focusing on the people. I feel like since the general election, what I've been telling the GOP as a whole is that we cannot rest. We have to continue to go forward, because the midterms is around the corner. 2 more months, really in 1 month, we'll be right into 2021. And so we have to really focus our efforts on being the driving force in the communities as conservative voices, and not just waiting till election cycle.
Willie, Orange County, tell our viewers who may not be familiar with your great state, where is that?
Orange County is the central part of Florida, but you probably know that as the area where it houses Orlando.
Yes.
So we normally just say Orlando, but Orange County is the county. We're the place that has 2 mayors, a city mayor and a county mayor. So,
oh, how about that, Tom?
That ought to be fair. That ought to be double fair. Oh,
Yeah.
that's crazy. Well, that's great. I know you do great work out there, and I've always trying to keep up, you know, how government uses sister cities and sister states against us. And this is why I love reaching out to Dr. Montague out there in Florida, because we've got to bind all of our constitutional voices together,
Yeah.
no matter where we reside.
Yeah. Tom, I'm hearing something I wanted to run by
Yes, sir.
Dr. Montague. I'm hearing in Dade County, the Miami area, that the Republicans have taken some seats that, especially the Latino community, has really become part of the Republican Party in an even bigger way recently. Can you add any color to that? Any details?
Yeah, actually, I would say that the Latinos for Trump organization, several of those leaders with the Hispanic Republican Assembly of Florida, Mr. Avila, they really pulled together in Florida as a whole and really push for the Latino community to really go out and be Republicans. And I mean,
Yes.
they worked hard, even the Asian Pacific and the Black Voices for Trump. So the minority community as a whole really pushed out, and that's why we saw that flip, especially in areas like Miami-Dade, which is hard liberal areas, be able to actually flip. We didn't see that quite in our three areas here, the congressional seats in Orange County, Seminole, and Osceola. But we did see it in surrounding areas, and there were some seats that was able to be taken over. But that's why we're working towards 2022, especially for the House, the state houses, and the state Senate, and the local municipality races coming up.
Tom, can I ask one more?
Yeah, please do. I was just going to say how great Florida's been doing since 2000 was my comment.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Right. Dr. Montague, what would you say is the message that best impacts, whether it's the African American community, the Latino community, or a broader Hispanic? What are the messages that best resonates to those communities, especially in Florida?
The best message is really family. That's where I feel like if we, and I made a post about fatherlessness, maybe 2 hours ago, and we have to understand about the family centeredness is really where our government is tied to. And I say that as far as you look at the LBJ's Great Society plan that he had, that actually it really put the government into place to be a parent or to be God. And so when we come as conservatives and we relay that message to the minority constituents and potential voters, or those that's getting ready to register to vote, that the government is trying to lord over you and your family and your assets, and they're not there to help you to really move forward. They're really wanting to keep you in bondage. That's the message that resonates, because they're like, wait a minute, I didn't realize that I was in a state of bondage, which we know that the liberal agenda is to continue to feed that welfare system, the need to have more government, the need to be, babysitted in a way. But when you come in the conservative mindset, we're like, you can have your free market, you can have your fiscal responsibilities, you can be your own person, build your own wealth, build your own family, and continue to move forward, where you're not going to have government tell you how much tax you can pay when you're married, you're born, when you die, how many children you can have. So I believe that's the messages that really resonate, especially with minority communities, because for so long they've been crippled by feeling like they have to answer why they live their life. I would just say it like that.
Hey, if you're just joining us, you are listening to Dr. Willie J. Montague from Florida, and speaking some great conservatism there. You are joining Tommy McKay, your fine host here on 3D Politics every Monday, and we're welcoming back David Van, Sooner Politics extraordinaire, with breaking news at the bottom of the hour. But right now, more from Willie J. What did you have, Van?
Yeah. Tom, this is key. What Willie's saying here needs to be repeated far and wide. But what I do want to say, one of my sons decided to get involved in Kanye West's campaign for president. And what was central to that inadvertently was really just a reworking of the Great Society. Kanye wants to, to stop abortion. He wants to pay a pension to every unwed mother. And I'm saying, you don't realize your intention's good here, but you're just creating the LBJ Great Society all over again. Right. And then the other thing I wanted to say, bouncing off what you said, Dr. Montague, is that whereas the Black community now realizes more and more that they've been decimated by this because they bought into it, the Latino community has really not been that. They've been about family independence because many of them come from countries where they couldn't count on the government for anything. Would you agree with those sentiments, or?
Yeah, and I think someone made a comment one time actually separating the Latino community as it deals with the Black community, and I really think that when we go back to the Latino community, I look at their work ethics. I look at how they're the driving force and behind they're connecting. And I know that this is probably not going to go well with what I'm getting ready to say, but because I am a Black American, I know that we have an issue overall in the Black communities with learning how to really connect and stay together to focus on a project. And this is why I go back to this platinum plan that President Trump has introduced, because that's an opportunity for us to work together. As you saw with the Latino community, they really had a driving force. And I'm not saying that the Black communities do not know how, but I'm saying that when it comes to certain areas, we really have to have strong leadership that goes in and says, this is how we have to do it. It's not about you and you, it's about community efforts. And that's what I do see with the Latino community. And that was mentioned, I forgot who it was, somebody mentioned it, and it did not go well when they said it. Actually, I believe it was President Trump's son-in-law had mentioned something similar to it, and it didn't go as well because of the person it came from.
Well, this might work the same way for me. So because let me interject here where we're throwing around these terms, and I've called out some of my liberal adversaries on social media about using these terms like Black community, Latino community. I think these terms are divisive within themselves. I don't see you as any different in any community than me, except for you live in Florida. I don't see you as living in a quote unquote Black community. I don't live in what I call a white community or a Cherokee community. You know what I'm saying? We are Americans, and the idea that we use the term Black community, it's a group word. It's not an individual word. Not every Black is in the Black community, and not every white is in the white community. What do you say, you?
Yeah, I definitely can agree with that. And I say the reason I believe we use those terms is because predominantly, especially when you come to Florida and you go down to the area which is called Paramore, Pine Hills, they're predominantly Black areas where more Black, because it is really the poverty level. We were just having a meeting today. The poverty level in those areas are 52% below the poverty level in those areas which are predominantly Black. So what I say is we should not look at each other any differently because we are all Americans, but because of the way that the world has become and how we have things set up. I think that I was explaining to someone one time about the fact that it's easy for us to say that we're all Americans, just like we saw them separate with the Black Lives Matter. And I understood what they were trying to do, but I also understood how it flipped so fast. And what I believe that we have to do within the Republican Party, the conservative movement, is understand that in cultures, there are different ways that things are done, said, and handled. And that's where I wouldn't say as a separation as much as we understand culture, just like with Irish Americans that, they have their certain days that they may wear a kilt, but we're not going to do that in certain communities because that was not our culture.
Right. So, I didn't mean to put you on the spot to struggle to define why we all use labels. We all use labels. We have to. Go ahead, Van.
Well, and I think if you do it in a positive way, you get in less trouble than when you start speaking to problems as you identify them, because that's where it can be derogatory. I think for all of us to look at the strengths in Latino society, it puts all of us to shame in the sense of looking after multiple generations of family. Grandpa and grandma are usually more involved. They're just the kids normally mind better than for all of us. I'm just going to say that as a strength of their community. I will say of the Black community, nobody is a bigger component compared to their population percentage in our military than the Black community. Well, if we didn't have the Black community, we would lose much of our strength in our military. They're doing more than their fair share.
I get where you're going. These are like composite girlfriends for Obama. You're defining statistically information that doesn't pertain to a single person. And Dr. Willie's problem is he's trying to reach to an individual. And so when you tell an individual, well, I'm going to help the Black community, the Black community is not me. Well, I don't mean me. The Black community is not the individual you're talking to, because the Black community is not a word that defines a person. It's the group. The word group doesn't define person. It defines a number. You're talking mathematics when you say group. So for Dr. Willie to say we're going to help the Black community, that what I feel like is needed is a pathway for the individual you're reaching out to, who may be a member of the Black community, to see the path as an individual, not as a member of the group. Did I make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Nobody wants to be pigeonholed.
Well, I mean, you could tell, nobody in the Black community has had a monolithically exactly the same life. Everybody has struggled in different ways, and everybody has been treated poorly in different ways. And so I'm not trying to deny the fact that there are stereotypes, but I think that when I did advertising and promotion for the Oklahoma Territory Film Commission, or Council when it used to be around, we were trying to build turnout, and I would tell the people, don't tell them bring as many people as you can. Tell the people, bring one person. Tell one person to bring one person. I can bring one person. I can't bring as many people as I can. That's impossible, because bring the biggest group you can. It's not people. Bring one friend. Willie, what do you say to all that stuff?
Yeah, I agree. And that's the concept of each one reach one. If we look overall, we have resources for all communities. And I look again back to, as President Trump has rolled out the Platinum Plan, that is going to take everyone working together. But it's going to, my main thing with this, as we're talking about Black communities, should not put in a group, is that people have to grab hold of it. It has to have tentacles, it has to have teeth, because we've seen this for decades. I'm 32 years old. We've probably seen it throughout different ways, different forms, different fashion. I'm pretty sure in LBJ's mind, somehow he thought that he was going to be doing a great thing, and not realizing it was going to turn into something, what we see now, that is really a plantation-minded system. But it goes back to this. The only way we can change that is continue to educate. When I was living in Oklahoma, that was something I did with Tommy Counts, that we had an actual training where we trained about liberty, what liberty is, period, and how that you can live in a place of liberation through your beliefs in religion, your beliefs dealing with school choice, your beliefs dealing with government. And that helped us to be able to turn the communities around, so they saw the conservative principles versus that they were targeted. And I get that, it can come targeted. But then again, we look at the eras that we're in, and sometimes we just have to come and call it as it is, in order to get something done until they can see differently.
So there's got to be handles, and we have to have labels and stereotypes to get us there. I think that's also decent. What do you got, Van? Anything?
No, that's it. I'm just glad to hear him talk about his Oklahoma connection. You want to elaborate a little bit? Tell us about your time in Oklahoma.
Oh, well, it was wonderful. I came to Oklahoma. It was 2007. Was there for Bible college. I went to Rhema. That was a exciting experience. Actually, I started working with the Tulsa GOP back in 2010. I met J.C. Watts. We was in Altus. They did like a bean and basket. That was when Governor Fallon was just running for governor. So
Sure.
it was a great experience. I mean, that was when I really got hooked up in ministry, and really where politics really took off for me, because it was from 2010 up until I had to go take care of my mother in 2014, where I just was involved heavily with politics. I even ran for city council in Broken Arrow. So.
Oh, nice.
I'm an 82 grad of Rama myself. So.
Oh, okay. See, okay. All right.
That's beautiful, man. I'm hanging out with men of God around here, baby.
Well, thank you.
Between you guys, you can save me. So, hey, I do want to move on to this disturbing story out of Florida while we've got you on the line here. Florida mom arrested during school meeting over mask. The woman was attending a school board meeting where an extension of the district's mask policy was approved. This is out of Fox News. Louis Cassiano, a Florida woman, was arrested Tuesday after refusing to wear a mask at a school board meeting where face coverings were required. Now, that sounds like she was obstinate, but Carrie Turner, 40, was taken into custody in front of her 2 children by police officers with Pinellas County Schools in Largo. In a video of the arrest widely circulated online, Turner's teenage daughter is heard screaming, "That's my mom, that's my mom." Turner was charged with a battery and law enforcement officer trespassing and disorderly conduct. What I understand is the incident was involved when she was trying to leave, and they blocked her exit. And so let's just see if I can share. Hopefully I've got this thing moved to the point where there is no language. And let's see if I can share this item and hear this poor gal. The video is horrible here.
I told her to back off. And then we all went to the ground, and a female officer took her into the ground. What did she do wrong?
How about that?
My mom was trespassing.
These are children.
I will
Let's just bring that out. Sorry here. So you can see how this mask thing is going to make us all safe. I mean, were you aware of this stuff? There's like 5 minutes of just melee out there. Did you hear about this?
Yeah, this is one of many. In fact, there is a lady that I know that is actually connected to me with the Florida Freedom Keepers, which is a medical freedom group. And she as well was a target of this when she was at a school board meeting a couple of weeks ago. And this is happening all over Florida, especially within these cities where the government is more liberal minded. The governor announced that there would be no penalty or charges to anyone that does not want to comply with the mask mandate. So to hear that she was detained and also in front of a child, you know, that is saddening, because what we have to realize is, I always say this, is to me, is not pro versus anti. It is about individual responsibility. Yeah. And we as American people, our constitutional right, we are our own individual responsible party for our bodies. And therefore, the government should not have the say of yay or nay, when and where we should wear a mask. And especially when I go into some places, they say you have to put one on. I'll tell them quickly that, you know, you are breaking so many different laws, even in that one sentence of trying to force me to put on a mask. Yeah. Because if I say I don't want to, or if I go and say, you know, I'm not able to breathe comfortably, it's supposed to stop right there. And you're not supposed to ask what my medical conditions are to be able to do it. But this is what we're seeing. We're seeing a force, and we're seeing, you know, these young ladies, especially a lot of these mothers, they're really banding together. And I would say that I'm really impressed and encouraged by the fact that they're banding together to stand up for the no mask mandates. So,
yeah. I want to say I just looked up another source on it. It said that as the woman was leaving the room where the meeting was being held, the police stopped her and said, "You cannot walk down this hall without putting on a mask." So she was denied an exit without first putting on a mask. It almost
Right,
looks like
that's the point.
kidnapping to me. I mean, to where you're holding somebody
blocked
against
her
their
from-
will.
Well, they're making an example out of her.
That's
They're not going to allow her to leave. It's arbitrary enforcement of the law, and they tell us you got to. So the science is you want her to wear the mask to make sure that she's going to make it.
Yeah.
Let me kill this.
Yeah, I've got a little more. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Finish your thought.
Well, anyway, what I'm saying is if you think she's a danger to the people there by not wearing a mask, by keeping her, they're making it more dangerous than it's just totally arbitrary. Van, what do you got?
Yeah. The other thing is her daughter's hand was injured by the cops trying to restrain her. And it was so bad that she had to seek medical attention. And now the father, the husband and dad, is furious and he wants to bring legal action on this.
Yeah,
so
it's crazy. They released her. Says they released her anyway, according to jail records.
Yeah, and another mother was chased by a cop taunting her as another mother was trying to leave. And I mean, that's literally that. Fox 23 Memphis was carrying their Fox News feed on that. That's what.
Yeah, the lady that I know, she was brought down to the ground during this time. You see the video; she was taken down. And it's sad to see this, and it's happening all over. And I believe it's only going to get worse because the police officers are not just standing on their duties as officers. They're picking political sides, and that's really what's happening. They're choosing between their oath and what they feel is right in their own personal belief systems, and that's what we're seeing. Because some of the officers may be like, "Hey, I'm with you. I get it. I was just at the mall and I didn't have on a mask, and I wasn't going to wear a mask. So the officer had a box of masks in his hands, but I had on a hoodie, and he said, "Well, you have to take off the hood so that we could identify you in case of a crime." So I said, so I thought the safety issue was I didn't have a mask, but you want me to take off the hoodie. So he's holding the mask by telling me to take off. So that lets you know that they don't know what battle to pick and choose or what the rules are. Because I told him, I said, "Where do you have that right?" I said, "So who am I endangering? Is that a safety issue with the hoodie? But you holding the mask, and you never mentioned to me to wear a mask."
Okay, well, let's dig down a little bit on that, Dr. Montague. If that is a private business, if it's a shopping mall, those are probably mall cops, not real police officers, right? Or they're off-duty police officers, so they're not in their official capacity. Now, I support the right of a business to set the terms of people coming in. Would you not agree?
Right, yes. If the business says that and that's what they have, but I go back again to, they also have to follow those guidelines that are there set by those, I cannot think the name of the organization, where they tell you they cannot ask your medical records. So are you willing to lose business because someone says, "I just cannot wear a mask, but I love your food establishment. I can't, so I can't," so I look at it in both ways.
Right. So if Eskimo Joe's restaurant here in Oklahoma wanted to say you got to wear orange and black in order to be served, technically I have to say that's a private business. They want to require that. No maroon and cream, you can't, crimson and cream, you can't come in here. They have a right to do that. Maybe stupid, but that's the difference between a government entity.
Okay, so if that's their So when it gets to take it one level deeper, like we want to, and Dr. Montague, I got one more story I want out of you before we get out of here. But if the rule of the store, the policy is you got to wear this and that, and then they say, "Oh, this time it's an exception because you're a friend of mine," who do we sue? You know what I'm saying? If you deny me the opportunity to go there because I don't wear the thing, but then I see you allow somebody else How am I now? How do I show damages?
That's what I'm saying.
Too bad Oldham's not here to go insane about this stuff.
Well, what about when my husband wants to launch a boat up in upstate Michigan, or or I need my hair done in San Francisco, like most of the politicians who make carve outs for themselves.
Yeah, anything they,
Anyway,
oh,
I'm
gosh.
sorry.
So anyway, hey, by the way, don't forget, we need to make sure that everybody knows every Monday night, 3D Politics right here, your verbal Viking, Tommy McKay, your fine host. Joined again with me, finally, back again, David Vann with breaking news right after this fine guest, Dr. Willie J. Montague from Florida. And once again, Dr. Montague, I appreciate you coming out again. We're going to always have you back on a regular cyclical basis. Great things going on out there in Florida, which was the drama in 2000, but pretty well the Republicans with Willie's help out there have sewn up Florida and doing well. But I want to get on to one more story here. Florida's DeSantis moves to allow citizens to shoot looters, rioters targeting businesses. Caitlin McFall, Fox News, November 11th, 2020. Governor Ron DeSantis drafted anti-mob legislation that would expand the state's stand your ground law, a move that some worry would allow armed citizens to shoot and potentially kill anyone they suspect of looting. Allegedly suspect, right? And now talking to the Miami Herald, Denise Georges, who a prosecutor. She's worked with Stand Your Ground cases, told the Miami publication, the Miami Herald, it also allows for death to be the punishment for property crime. And that is cruel and unusual punishment. We cannot live in a lawless society where the taking of life is done so casually and recklessly. I got to know her stance on abortion just to find out. Have you heard of this Denise Georges gal, prosecutor?
No, actually, I have not. She's up. She's down that way. I have not.
Gotcha. One more piece on this. We'll get your input. The draft legislation also includes measures that would make protesting, which disrupts the public by blocking traffic, a third-degree felony. The law would also reportedly grant immunity to drivers who unintentionally kill or injure protesters who are blocking traffic. Additionally, the law would allow the state to withhold funds from local governments that cut police budgets. Now, this will encourage the children to stay out of the road. Yeah, I'm just saying, I mean, I have children. If they want to protest, I say, stay out of the road, even if you're protesting. So.
Yeah, this, I love Governor DeSantis. I think that he has the guts to really stand up for Florida, because we need it in all areas. But, we know what's happening around the country with the looters and the rioters that are tearing up, these beautiful businesses. And some of these are small business owners that they gave all of their life earnings to open these businesses. And here you got people just coming down and can just bust windows out, take whatever they want. And a lot of them were saying that some of their insurance policies do not cover those. So they're out. They're absolutely out of business.
And there's excuse me for just a second, there's no amount of money that can insure a 200-year-old bronze sculpture that they tear up, knocking over things that you can, community-owned sculptures and pieces of art that they're ruining and throwing paint on, just destroying our property. And you can't insure and get back something that was built 100 years ago. I'm sorry, but go ahead.
So I believe that it's, I believe he's right. Now, when we look at, of course, these are probably these anti-gun people that's up there with these they create these scenarios that in real life, I don't believe they're actually going to happen that way, that someone's just going to randomly say, oh, he looks like he's breaking or looting, I'm just going to grab a gun. I believe that, I believe that the law, again, is going to get in and would investigate if anything was just done maliciously. And it's not just going to be, we're going to take your word that somebody was going to break in. There's going to be cameras or whatnot. So again, it goes back to, I think he's making the right move, because Florida is a stand your ground state. This only extends that to be able to help protect business owners, not just not just private property owners who before, when somebody came to your property, you're trespassing, they can let you know, hey, you need to get off my property. This is protecting, it's basically protecting the assets of those from their private property to those that is considered public property when you go into a place that such as a business establishment. Then it goes back again to with those who are in the street. We had that here in Orlando during the time they were doing the Black Lives Matter protests. They were blocking the interstate from driving, and you know, before, if somebody would have accidentally tapped you, or you happen, and some of these college age jerks were they were jumping in front of the car. They knew what they were doing because they figured, hey, if that person hits me, I can get that for assault because he saw me. I'm a human body that's walking, and I believe that this helps protects everyone, because if you driving that, you know, a car is going down the street, and we're talking, our interstate is 70 miles per hour on some of these, and you going out there, or even at the least 60 miles per hour, and you're going and you're blocking the interstate, and people have to get to work or go pick up their kids as an emergency, and you want to go out there, and because you don't have a life, and you want to go stand in the middle of the street, and someone has to get by, and you happen to jump out there, you know, whose fault is that? Because that's something you should have learned about, you know, your own personal look both ways before you cross the street. So
well, yeah, a lot of these young voters, though, they think that the whole world is coming to an end, and so risking bodily injury is worth it. However, if you guys remember when you were like 3, 4, and 5 years old, how many times your whole world come to an end when you're 5 years old? Man, what do you get?
Yeah, I just want to say it brings back memories to me of the Rodney King riots in the early 90s. Rodney King, you know, they got on video. He was beaten pretty bad. You know, he was on PCPs, is my understanding, but he was beaten up pretty bad. And the California, you know, penals, the way their laws were written, the only thing they could really put the cops on trial for is for the essentially the same thing as attempted murder. And the cops were acquitted on those charges of attempted murder. Well, that brought about the South Central LA riots. Well, in that community, you had some Korean merchants that did just the same thing that Ron DeSantis is talking about. They stood on the rooftops of their shops with loaded guns. Now, very, very few rounds were ever fired from any of those guns, but the threat of it saved those businesses, because once you have an insurrection declared by an insurance company or a state of riot, that usually is one of the riders that says we don't have to pay for damages if it's, you know, into that kind of civil unrest. And so, yeah, you are destroying livelihoods, families, you know, entire businesses, and then the trickle down effect happens. So I agree with that. And I want to say this: Oath Keepers, which is a very respected gun rights group that's mostly law enforcement and military veterans. They had a problem over this issue because some of the Oath Keepers in Missouri went into Ferguson and saw the minority businesses that were looted, you know, and fire set to buildings. And they went to the shopkeepers who happened to be black. And they said, you need to arm yourselves. And they helped make sure they had arms. Well, Oath Keepers nationally didn't like the idea of black people having guns. And so the Missouri Oath Keepers said, fine, we won't have anything to do with you. That's a racist policy. You're okay with the white man having a gun, but somehow you have a problem with the black shop owner having a gun? You know, so it's an issue. And there's a difference of opinion on this. But, you know, civil rights are civil rights, and they belong to all of us. I'm sorry, I'm getting off on a soapbox.
Hey, Dr. Willie J. Montague, you came in early and you stayed late. So I appreciate you putting in
man. You're
all
good.
the work. Tell them where we can tune into you to find out all the stuff you're doing there in Florida.
Yeah, well, go to my Facebook page, Willie Montague for Congress. You can go to also Willie J. Montague just on the my normal profile. I think I have a few more people I can add there. But if you can't add me there, just go to Willie Montague for Congress. It should pop right up. It has a blue check mark next to it to make sure that it's
that's important.
verified. So, and then I have Dr. Willie J. Montague. That is my page as well. That'll be active more, probably rolling out the end of the year. I'm on Twitter at Rep Montague. I'm on Parler at Willie J. Montague. So I'm all over. Just type it in, it'll pop up. Go to the website, MontagueForCongress.com, and check out We are updating it as time progresses, as we move forward towards the weeks and months ahead into 2022, but you still can read some of my policies and platforms that I'm standing on. My idea for police reform, which is called PUSH Act, which is really putting the responsibility into the communities to help review when there's ever some accusations going on with some excessive force. So just a lot of things. Just look into it. It's out there, and you can find me on any social media platform.
That's
Tom,
beautiful. Yes,
there
sir.
ought to be a law against guys throwing around blue check marks as a status
Oh man, right in
symbol
my
and trying
face.
to lord it
You see
over
that?
us.
I'm so glad you're standing up for him. Man.
My
Right in my
goodness,
face. He's got a
Willie.
check.
The audacity,
Well,
Willie.
hey, he's done a lot more work for his check mark, though. We got to give him credit. Doing the God's work out there. Dr. Willie J. Montague, appreciate you being here. We're going to have you back again. Keep us informed of what's going on with the Gators out there in Florida.
All right.
All
All right. We appreciate you. You bet. Thanks for coming.
I like that bumper music. Who composed that?
Well, there you go. It all happens very fast, David.
Good job, Tom.
Thanks a lot, David. That spinning thing in the corner is just driving me crazy. I love it. It's nice to have you back. The production value's back with David Vann joining me once again on 3D Politics every Monday night here on Facebook Live. And I got to tell you, we've got breaking news, ladies and gentlemen. We've kept you waiting all evening long. This is news from the state of Oklahoma, Sooner politics. From today, Governor Stitt faces strong opposition on shutdown orders. Today, Oklahoma Governor Kevin Stitt made multiple orders which have questionable legal standing. His executive order to state employees at agency offices is not the most controversial of actions. Representative Sean Roberts, chairman of the House Public Health Committee, said he's not aware. This is Sean Roberts is not aware of any statutory or constitutional authority for the governor to make these orders without declaring a state of public health emergency. What's it all about, David?
Well, yeah, and I want to give a plug to Sean stepping up here. Sean's been a strong ally of Governor Stitt, but I asked him point blank directly this afternoon. I said, does he have the authority to do that? And Sean said, not that I'm aware of, because the civil rights attorney, Frank Urbanek, exposed last spring what the governor was doing, and technically secretly trying to do it so underhandedly and quietly. Governor Stitt was declaring Oklahoma to be in a state of civil unrest and a state of riot in order for him to declare these powers to himself in his office. And once Frank Urbanek exposed that, within 24 hours, Governor Stitt switched it to what it belonged as, is a public health emergency.
Okay, let me read this because I'm already dizzy on it. This is breaking news. We're getting this off the wire right now. Civil rights attorney Frank Urbanek said it seems the governor is attempting the same unconstitutional action under a Riot Control Act that he exposed last March, and that's what you're talking about. March.
I'm sorry, I got ahead of you.
Well, you just moved so quickly through it, and I want to slow down and talk about it a little bit. Last March, the governor did a thing, and it was overreaching his powers, and this civil rights attorney Frank Urbanek pointed it out. That am I right so far?
That is correct.
And it was, and that is the governor was acting under the Riot Control Act. And the problem here is that he had never, is it that the governor had never said we were in a riot, or was that he said we were in a riot?
He said we are in a riot, and we weren't. This was even before the George Floyd death. There was nothing going on causing any kind of civil unrest. Nothing.
Wow. And so he had to switch it over to a state of public health emergency.
Right, which doesn't give the governor any powers at all. It gives our top public health official in our state, which would typically be the commissioner of the health department. Sad thing is we don't have a commissioner of our health department because the governor screwed that up too. He tried to put a guy in there who didn't meet the statutory requirements to hold that office. And when the Senate called him out on it, then, you know, they said, we're not going to approve him. The law is clear. He's not qualified. The guy he was trying to put in didn't have a master's degree level in, you know, one of the public health fields. And so now the governor went back to appointing another interim health director. And that's our commissioner of health. And that's who we're going to have to go with. Somebody who the Senate has not approved, just somebody the governor tapped.
Man, my favorite band, their last two songs have just, they sucked.
Okay. Yeah. Now, can I go over the way it happened last April? And this happened correctly.
Okay.
What happened is when Frank Urbanek published his finding, he said, hey, our governor is actually usurping authority under false pretenses here. The governor moved fast. He said, okay, calling a health emergency and notifying the legislature, the Speaker of the House and the Senate President, that you've got 48 hours to convene in special session. Now, they were already in regular session, but for this, they have to do a special session.
This is if Stitt wants it to be a health emergency, he has to follow these guidelines.
If he wants to follow the law, he's got to do this.
Okay.
And within 48 hours, they have to convene at 8 a.m. It even tells what hour they convene.
Wow.
And they have to deliberate on, are they going to give him a maximum of 30 days of special powers, but it comes with it an oversight legislative committee that at any time watching what he's doing, they have to be fully transparent to this oversight committee. That committee can go back to legislature and say, hey, he's doing things with his powers that are not what we intended, and we don't think it has anything to do with addressing this emergency. It could be ineptness or it could just be abuse. And the legislature at any time in those 30 days can yank those powers. And I want to go one further. After those 30 days was up, or as we were nearing them, the majority leader, John Eccles, said, I don't know if he's going to ask for another 30 days, but I don't think we're going to give it to him. So that was last May. So that's kind of where the standing is. And since then, things have very much soured between the legislative leadership and the governor's office. Remember, they overrode his veto of the budget for this year. That's pretty scorched earth. I mean, it's pretty bad right now.
It's always, I mean, at some point, I guess I have been fooled into thinking that Stitt is protecting our individual liberty somehow, or he just tight-roping.
I'm telling you, this seems inconsistent with all the best things I've seen out of Governor Stitt.
Okay, that makes sense.
This is just really weird. And again, I talked to the mayor of Newkirk today, Brian Hobbs. He's been on our show before. And I talked to the state representative, Sean Roberts, chairman of the House Public Health Committee. If anybody should be involved, he should. And he's been a staunch supporter of the governor, as has Mayor Hobbs. And they're both furious about this.
Wow.
So Stitt is really putting a lot of his political capital on the line here for something that is asinine. The fix he's declaring, shutting down all restaurants by 11 p.m. every night, is contrary to good strategy for social distancing.
And why is that, David?
Well, you know, if I want to be safe going to a restaurant, I'm not going to go during rush hour. I'm not going to go when the place is packed. If
you want to avoid people, you're not going to go when it's the busiest time.
You know, if it's a Monday night and I'm, you know, doing a late night webcast show with my buddies and we want to go down to the Brook restaurant, you know, you wait until the rush is over. And then you've got a little bit better, healthier environment where you don't have somebody coughing over your shoulder, you know, or hacking away in the booth next to you. But by closing down at 11, anybody who's going to try to grab a bite, they're going to say, we need to hurry up, get to the restaurant before they have to close.
Well, yeah, if you've got X amount of customers that are coming in at any one given night and you limit the number of hours they're coming in, you've condensed the number of people will be together at any one given time.
Social distancing requires us to spread out more. Tom, I'll use an example. Have you gone to Walmart over the summer or fall? You notice how Okay, they shut down at least one of their entrances. Sometimes they shut down 4 or 5. You
Right.
can't go in the automotive department. You can't go in at the lawn and garden, or
Right.
even on, you know, you go to the side where the groceries are. And then you have to leave that side. Okay. So last time I went there, I couldn't go out where my car was parked. I had to go all the way around, and then they're checking every receipt. So I'm standing in the line, and the guy's got, you know, ragweed hay fever, and he's sneezing up a storm over my shoulder, you know, and I'm just like, you think you're actually protecting our health? You're making it worse, Walmart. So what I'm saying is, not every idea that comes out of government or even out of the business community is a smart idea. And I think the government's, this particular order is stupid on its face, not to mention unconstitutional, unstatutory.
So my guess is that, you know, I'm sure being governor, there are pressures that are applied to you that aren't necessarily publicly known. And I'm not speaking nefarious or conspiracy theory. I'm just saying that when you are in a position of control or power, there are pressures on you, not necessarily even from external. You have the feeling of pressure to do or not do things. And so there's got to be a certain amount of pressure on him to say, okay, look, I'm going to encourage these. I mean, he was begging us to wear a mask without forcing me to. That was what I liked. It was like, well, because I could tell they were just breaking his arm to say uncle. And he was like, look, I'm not going to, you know, treat them like children, but I'll tell them what they should do.
Yeah, I'm going to expand on that, because to me, the way the mask issue is being handled is they're actually creating unintended additional dangers. When I went to vote, you know, I'm in there and getting ready to go out. A lady standing at the doorway. It's only a 3-foot wide doorway at the church lobby, and she's standing there. And I'll get about 8 feet away, and I said, "Excuse me, ma'am, I need to get out." And she said, "Well, I'm just waiting for my husband to finish voting," thinking, you know, I'll just scoot over and you can stand by me. I said, "I'd like you to clear enough pass for us to socially distance." Well, she said, "Well, I'm wearing a mask." The mask is only for when you can't social distance, and people are thinking that because they're wearing a mask, they don't have to socially distance.
So now we're all deputized, and it's like a badge if you wear a mask. My God, this is ridiculous, man. Absolutely ridiculous.
It's virtue signaling.
You know? Oh my God. Well, you know, and Clay Clark was making the point. There's all these series of maladies and side effects that come with the mask. Dr. Leanne talking about all the lesions, etc. I mean, it's not like the mask are an end all. I don't know why she swallowed the fly. I think she'll die. That's what I think.
Hey, listen, I've developed what, you know, babies get. It's called thrush. It's a yeast infection. Yeah, you know.
Yeah.
Here, I'll get close to the camera. Maybe you'll catch it. You know.
Oh my gosh.
But anyway, and the problem is a warm, moist, and dark area is where yeast infections on your skin will grow. Yeah. Right. Okay. And so, you know, other people having problems with staph infections, boils, acne. I mean, just all kinds of, you know, problems. Fungus.
Yeah, the acne is a thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, I'll wear a mask for a short period of time. Okay. If I have to, if it's a situation where I can't distance. But my thing is, where I'm able to distance, that is my prime practice of protecting public health. It's just keep my distance.
Well, right. And the thing that I find amazingly irrational is the people that are pro-mask, the pro-mask mandate. When I simply don't want to agree with them and say, look, I don't necessarily want to wear a mask, their attitude is, I'm not taking the disease seriously. And I'm like, what? How come just because I don't agree with you, I'm somehow ridiculously off the mark and not taking it seriously? Yeah. I'm damn serious. I wash my hands like I always have, you know?
Right. And the point there, Tom, being just because I don't agree with your strategy doesn't mean I don't share your values.
There you go. Yes,
you know?
Exactly.
And now this is going to be a real problem. Last year, remember when President Trump said, hey, we're going to have to do this. Hopefully it won't take long. but he got with Congress and said, let's get some relief because we are shutting down people's livelihoods here. And, you know, there's a Fifth Amendment issue there, the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, that says you don't take something from somebody without proper compensation. And I believe that applies to take away a person's means of earning a living. Mm-hmm. So when the government does something like that, I felt it, in one sense, it made some rational sense, you know, to give back something. Okay. That doesn't mean I was in favor of it, but it mitigated the difficulty on it. Right. So now Governor Stitt is doing this, singling out the restaurant and tavern industry. They're going to get the brunt of this. You know how badly they're hurting. In order for them to open, they had to convince their local health department that they've spread out all their booths and tables. And now where your restaurant, you're paying the same mortgage on the place. You're paying a lot of the same fixed costs, right. But now you can only serve half the customers at a time. Don't tell me that doesn't hurt your bottom line. Yeah, so they're already suffering that. And now we're going to limit their hours.
No, you're right. You're fired. You're setting me off. This is from the story on Sooner Politics. Yeah. David Vann, Newkirk Mayor Brian Hobbs from the Sooner Politics story. Brian Hobbs, Newkirk Mayor, said his business community is suffering from the drop in sales tax collections, but he's even more concerned for the good people who own the businesses who will be devastated by another shutdown. That is, I thought these cities wanted taxes, you know. So, yes. And they do. They need taxes to survive, and yet they're just crushing they're shooting their own selves in the foot. I know of a lovely foster parent couple who was helping this young lady get back on her feet. She has 3 kids, then plus twins after that. Well, she just got back on her feet and was getting ready to start a job here just like maybe today. I think it might be. This is a very current story, but because the schools shut down, she had babysitters for the twins, but the 3 other kids were supposed to be in school. So she's just got her kids back through foster parenting. Yeah. She's got a job to get stable, but they shut the schools down. Yep. And so now she not necessarily, I don't know if she showed up to her first day of work or not, but if you don't, that's always a bad sign. I mean, it's just, a tough deal. They're just killing us in the idea that it's going to save us. And what we know is the rich and the famous and those, what do we call them? Essential people. They'll have their parties. They're going to have their parties. They'll have their masks. And the socialism that we paid for only gets us a rationing of the things we bought.
And Tom, I'm going to tell on you. I've gone out with you afterwards for a burger and a beer, you know, and you make those ladies, it's usually ladies. I don't mean that guys don't, but you make them earn it. You're a polite guy, you know, but
what do I do?
I just ordered the special. You've got all these little things.
Oh yeah, I'm quirky.
You know, a little extra Parmesan on that. Please.
I've got a problem.
And you always got a nice smile and a wink, and you're really sweet to him. But you get your way. I know.
But there's always a snideness.
You know, my point is, people who work in the restaurant industry and the tavern industry earn their pay. Those are not easy jobs.
Right.
And I'm not just talking physically. Yeah, they're on their feet on concrete. But by God, the people skills you need, not everybody can do that.
It's a calling. You got to like it. You're there all the time. You got to deal with people, you know.
And I'm telling you, they need some kind of support here. And what we're doing is killing them.
Well, I'm telling you, I personally think we lost this battle at the pulpit. When they said you can't go to church on Easter and nothing happened, they know they got us in the palm of their hands. They're going to crush us, man. There's too many sheep out there.
Yeah. I really don't think Stitt is the evil mastermind. I think Stitt just bent to some pressure he shouldn't have. I really think. I mean,
I think it's a rock and a hard spot.
Yeah, Governor Stitt, you messed up on this. You did, and you just need to back away a little bit and work with the legislature. I know things are tough, and some of it's your fault, and some of it's not. But you've got to fix this thing, and you got to work things out with the legislature. We can't go into another session and have it be like the last one. But I think we need some partnership between our legislative leaders and our governor, and we got to come up with something that's going to work. And we got to fund it, and we can't leave anybody behind.
Yeah.
You're going to shut down businesses. The government has a responsibility constitutionally to take care of them.
Yeah, they're going to have to set up some boundaries and say, look, you go here if you want a mask, you go here if you don't, and hands off, get the government the hell out and let the people go. See, we're not being allowed to freely assemble. We're being denied the opportunity to freely assemble. And I don't know why that's not just directly confronted with a constitutional argument.
Well, no, Antifa's not been banned from meeting together. They still get to meet. Antifa has not been restricted.
But their food is horrible.
I know. But and then the last point I want to get at on this, Frank Urbanek, I reached out to him. He's a civil rights attorney, sharp legal mind out of Oklahoma City. He has private practice. He said, yeah, he says, phone's already been ringing here. People want him to represent him in lawsuits. So I'm not going to mention who they are or what the nature of it is. But I mean, the field is rich, target rich with ways to go after our governor, particularly. And I'm sorry, but it's going to go after our state. The best thing our legislature can do to protect our state is to exercise its authority, call a press conference tomorrow morning and saying, until we get notice from the governor that there is a health emergency and he's asking us for health emergency declaration, and we're going to ignore this and we're going to tell the people of Oklahoma to ignore what the governor's calling for. That's what I would do.
Okay. Because what you're saying, so a challenger to the governor should step up and say the governor should be asking for this.
Yeah.
And then set themselves up for a run in 2024.
Yeah. And I don't think the legislature should take him to court. There's already people going to take our governor to court, and it's going to cost us. And our governor is costing us money by this foolish decision. And he did it. I mean, it totally shocked everybody. Here it is Monday. Bam. Well, who the heck's he been talking to this weekend? Certainly hasn't been you or me. You know, we got to figure out what's going on. So yeah, we got some real issues.
That's a great story that you brought us to 3D Politics from Sooner Politics. You can go find that. Governor Stitt faces strong opposition on shutdown orders today. 11/16/2020 at SoonerPolitics.org.
Yeah, it's lead story, front page, SoonerPolitics.org. So
yeah, that's bringing us. So I know with this new mask mandate, I've only got one other thing to add before we get out of here. If everybody else is going to have a dictate, you know, like you got to dictate that I have to wear a mask or whatever it is. And it's not just you got to wear a mask. It's a certain kind of mask and the way you got to wear it. There's all sorts of rules. But I've decided to have my own personal mandate. And I have a dictate that says you have to remind me of your dictate. And my job is to remember my dictate. And my dictate is you always have to remind me of your dictate. So if I walk into your store without a mask, you'll have to say, hey, you need a mask. And I'll go, oh, thanks for reminding me.
Sure.
And if I walk back out to the car and come back in, you'll have to remind me again, because it's not my business to remember your dictate. It's my business to remember my dictate. And if everybody would use this theory, we'd spend a lot of time, you know, and I'm not going to be reminded by a plebe counter checker. I need your manager to remind me to wear my mask because I have a mandate. And my mandate is you got to remind me of what your mandate is.
I do want to say, Tom,
yes,
if
sir.
I could, I had an incident happen at the Tulsa Public Library downtown I want to share with you.
Okay, please do.
Now, as you know, I believe that the mask works as a muffler. It has some effect, much like sneezing in your shirt sleeve, right?
Okay.
It's a muffler. And I think we can all agree it at least does that. So I went to the library, and again, the skin condition, this, you know, yeast infection, I wore a shield. It's a full face shield. I wear ball cap and it comes down and it's, you know, so if I sneeze, it's like, bam, right there. You know, I can see all the particles, you know, and they stay with me. Well, I go into the library and after about 10 minutes and I'm social distancing and an old lady comes up and she gets real close to me and I say, excuse me, I'd like my social distance, you know, and she's, well, I'm wearing a mask. And I said, I understand that's secondary. Social distancing is our primary strategy in this state. And then all of a sudden the security for the downtown library comes up to me and said, excuse me, sir, we didn't stop you and come in. I had to check with my supervisors. but what you're wearing does not qualify. We need you to wear one of these blue paper masks. And I said, okay, you understand that doesn't stop the particles nearly as good as this plastic shield, this acrylic shield. Well, we don't know what that is, and we just know that this is what we're requiring of everybody. And I said, well, the problem with that is it creates a dark, warm, moist deal, and I've got this, you know, thrush, this yeast infection here, and I'm taking medication for it. And, you know, I was told by my doctor, be sure that you don't cover up. It needs sunlight. Sunlight actually helps kill it. And they said, well, look, you know, we've got our orders and we're going to follow them. You either need to wear this or leave. And so I left. You know, so I'm denied access to a service that I've been paying taxes for over 40 years for.
Right.
Because they're too stupid to understand that the best PPE in the hospital, they wear the same acrylic shields.
Because it's arbitrary enforcement of law. Now every little colloquial Nazi is going to come out and say, oh, not that mask, not that way, not like that.
Right. Tom, the optimal word is conformity. They want you to conform. Period. Yeah,
that's the bottom line.
Thank you for letting me share that little.
Hey, no, I appreciate you breaking that story with us. And it's the political progressivism is like the leaven in the bread of the Pharisees.
Yeah.
Once again, David Van coming back to 3D Politics with a fine breaking scoop. Every Monday night, Tommy McKay here on 3D Politics, your verbal Viking. We're going to hopefully have David Oldham back again next week. And Van, I hope you'll be able to join us. I know this is your busy time of year doing all your stuff, but we know we expected you back in December, but you came back early to bring us this great scoop. We're glad you did. Once again, thanks also to Dr. Willie J. Montague out there in Florida for teaching us about what's going on. He does just great work out there. And so anyway, here we go. Once again, Van, I'm going to send you out. I appreciate you being here, and we will see you next time. I can't take you out. All right, folks, I'm going to take us all out. Here we go. We'll see you guys next time.